The year is 1965. Ford would introduce an all-new overhead valve 6 for its full-size car line as well as truck line, and it would be the last generation, the fourth generation of inline 6. These bulletproof workhorses would be produced in Brook Park, Ohio at Ford's Cleveland engine plant from 1965 through 1996. This engine series was simple yet effective in design. Nothing extreme, but if maintained proper, it would run for literally ever, most of the time outliving the bodies that they were originally mounted in. The block is cast iron, single monoblock design, crankcase and cylinders, all cast as one single unit. Valves are overhead valve in the head with 2 valves per cylinder. The crankshaft rides 7 main bearings, which makes the crankshaft more rigid and adds reliability. This engine utilized timing gears instead of timing chains. The biggest difference with the 4th generation inline 6 Ford was the separate intake and exhaust manifolds, which could be easily replaced to get a little bit more power, baby, out of them with ease, which may not seem like a big deal, but all of the 6s that came before this one had integral intakes, except for maybe the Model K engine in the very, very beginning, like 1906, and the flathead 6 that nobody remembers. This series would spawn 2 engine displacement sizes, both in 1965. The smaller of the two was 240 cubic inch displacement overhead valve inline 6 3.9 liters. It was good for up to 150 horsepower, which was gross horsepower. Let's talk about that real quick. Gross horsepower, think about gross pay and net pay. Gross pay is the pay that you get before taxes. Net pay is the pay that you get after taxes. The 150 horsepower figure is the absolute best world figure without any accessories attached to the engine. So they went to net horsepower in the early 70s. All by 1972, everybody was doing net horsepower figures, which have all of the accessories attached, like power steering pumps, air conditioning compressors, alternators, anything that can bog the engine down, any accessories, which robs power from it. They gave the best world numbers. So it would make up to 150 horsepower, 3,200 RPM, 234 pound-feet or 317 newton meters around 2,000 RPM with a bore of 4 inches and a stroke of 3.18 inches. It was used in full-size cars from 1965 through 1972, but lasted longer as a fleet option out until 1974. It lasted in trucks from 1965 through 1974. Ford would also offer a larger stroke option on the 240. Stroke was 3.98 inches, bringing displacement up to 300 cubic inch displacement. It's important to note that both engines are virtually identical in appearance on the outside, but inside the rotating assembly and combustion chamber size in the head are different. Larger combustion chamber on the 300. But with that said, the heads are interchangeable because the block is the same. The 240 implemented 68cc combustion chamber size, whereas the combustion chamber was 76cc on the 300 from 1965 through 1986. Electronic fuel injection would replace the carburetor in 1987, and the 300 would go to 68cc combustion chambers with shrouded valves. 300 cubic inch displacement overhead valve inline 6 4.9 liters. It was good for anywhere between 101 horsepower all the way up to 150 net horsepower at 3,400 RPM, 265 pound-feet or 359 pound-feet at 1,600 RPM with a bore of 4 inches and a stroke of 3.98 inches. Compression was anywhere between 8 to 8.9 to 1 years this engine was used. 1965 through 1996, but upon further examination, it went until 1997 in vans. This engine could be found in the F-Series pickup trucks, tractors, construction equipment, power generators, Ford Bronco, Ford Econoline van, among many other vehicles and many other applications. The Ford Inline 6 would be totally phased out by 1998. Ford would replace the inline 6 with a more compact V6 engine configuration, but as they say, that's another engine for another day. Alright, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1965 Ford F-Series or 1965 Ford Bronco or 1968 Ford F-Series? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video On to the second scenario, 1967 Ford Custom or 1970 Ford Custom or 1965 Ford Custom. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. Or you could always send me an email at what_it's_like@yahoo.com. Thanks again for everything, and until next time. Oh yeah, one last thing before we go. What engine episodes would you like to see featured on this channel this year? It's been brought to my attention that White made a Boxster, not a Boxster, but a Boxer 8-cylinder engine that was a diesel. I'm definitely going to look into that one, but what other ones would you guys like to see featured this year? Put it down in the comment section below. Now until next time, toodaloo! Here is a sneak peek of things in the pipeline, things to come on What It's Like.